Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I'm excited to kick off our discussion on recent GST reforms in India, specifically GST-2 or Next-Gen GST. Today, we will explore the major changes introduced, their impact, the challenges ahead, and the future outlook. We might also touch upon the GST Bakat Utsav, our savings festival. So let's dive in and understand how these reforms are shaping the GST landscape in India. Let's take a moment to understand why reforming GST now is so important. Since its launch in July 2017, GST has played a crucial role in streamlining India's indirect tax system. It replaced a multitude of central and state taxes, creating a more unified framework. But even with these improvements, there have been some persistent issues. For example, the multiple rate slabs often cause confusion, and classification disputes can lead to delays. Inverted duty structures, where the tax on inputs is higher than on finished goods, also create challenges. Additionally, compliance can be complex, and refunds sometimes get delayed, affecting cash flow. The government sees an opportunity here to simplify the system, make it more efficient, and reduce the tax burden on businesses. The goal is to boost consumption and support economic growth, especially in the post-pandemic era. In September 2025, the GST Council approved a set of reforms called Next Generation GST or GST-2, which are set to be implemented from September 22nd. These reforms aim to address the issues we've discussed and take GST to the next level of efficiency and simplicity. Let's take a closer look at the main objectives behind this reform. First, there's a focus on simplifying the rate structure. This means reducing the number of slabs and eliminating anomalies that can complicate compliance. The goal is to make the system more straightforward for everyone. Next, we have rate rationalization and tax relief, which aim to make essential goods more affordable. By doing so, the reform seeks to ease the burden on consumers for everyday items. Another key point is improving ease of compliance and speeding up processes. This involves leveraging digital tools to streamline procedures, making it easier for businesses to comply and reducing the chances of litigation. We also want to ensure revenue sustainability and fairness. This includes measures to compensate states appropriately and preserve taxes on luxury or sin goods, maintaining a balanced approach. Finally, the reform aims to boost consumption and stimulate economic growth. Increasing disposable incomes and encouraging demand are critical to this goal. These objectives are clearly outlined in government and GST Council documents, reflecting a comprehensive approach to creating a more efficient and equitable tax system. Let's take a closer look at the key changes introduced under GST-2. First, regarding the structure of GST slabs, before the reform we had four main slabs: 5%, 12%, 18%, and 28%, with an additional cess for luxury and sin goods. After the reform, this has been streamlined to just two main slabs, 5% and 18%, making the system simpler and more uniform. When it comes to luxury and sin goods, previously they were taxed under the 28% slab plus a cess. Now, many of these items, including some luxury products, are taxed at higher rates like 40%. This change helps target these goods more effectively. Moving on to exempt and nil-rate items, earlier several essentials like medicines, Indian breads, and health and life insurance for individuals were either exempt or in the lower slabs. Post-reform, some of these items have moved to a 0% or exempt category, which simplifies classification and reduces disputes. Speaking of classification, earlier we saw disagreements over similar items, like different types of bread or popcorn variations. The reform has introduced more uniform classification rules to minimize these disputes and make compliance easier. In the automotive and durable goods sectors, the previous tax structure was quite complex, with heavy taxes in the 28% plus cess range. Now, smaller cars and electronics are shifted to the 18% slab, while larger cars and luxury items are taxed at 40%. This adjustment aims to balance tax fairness and revenue collection. Regarding exemptions and special rates, Earlier, they were sector-specific, which often led to confusion. Now, the system has clearer carve-outs, such as for life and health insurance and certain essential goods, making the policy more transparent. As for state compensation, the earlier model relied on a compensation cess on sin and luxury goods, with transitional arrangements to support states. The reforms continue to use compensation cess on some goods, but with an aim to balance the revenue impact across states. Finally, on compliance and refunds, the previous system faced delays, litigation, and classification issues that hindered smooth operations. The new approach emphasizes faster refunds, simplifying procedures, and reducing disputes, which should improve overall compliance and ease for taxpayers. Overall, these changes are designed to create a simpler, more uniform, and efficient GST system that benefits both businesses and the government. Let's talk about the benefits and positive impacts of this reform. The main idea here is that these changes are designed to create a lot of advantages for everyone. First, we expect a lower tax burden for the common man and middle class, which means more goods will become cheaper and more accessible. This can really help improve everyday living. Next, with lower taxes, individuals will have higher disposable income, leading to increased consumption. When people spend more, it stimulates demand across various sectors of the economy. Another key point is that the new tax structure will be simpler, which means fewer disputes and less confusion about classifications or inverted duty issues, making compliance easier for everyone. We also aim for faster refunds and smoother compliance processes. This directly helps businesses by reducing their cash flow constraints, allowing them to operate more efficiently. Supporting small and medium enterprises, or MSMEs, is another crucial aspect. The reforms lower their compliance burden and make their operations more predictable, which encourages growth. Additionally, these changes help maintain balanced state revenues through measures like the compensation cess and transitional provisions. And finally, by encouraging formalization and building trust in the tax system, we're fostering a more transparent and reliable environment for businesses and citizens alike. The Prime Minister has called this initiative GST Bakat Utsav, or Savings Festival, because these reforms are expected to bring significant savings to millions of people. Overall, these benefits are aligned with our goal of creating a more efficient, fair, and growth-oriented tax system. No reform, especially something as comprehensive as GST, comes without its set of challenges. One of the main concerns is the risk of revenue shortfalls for both the center and the states, particularly during the initial phases when everyone is still adjusting. Transitioning to a new tax system can also bring about classification controversies. Some goods might still fall into gray areas, which can create confusion and disputes. Another critical point is how benefits are passed on to consumers. It's essential that businesses don't just absorb the cuts themselves, but actually pass on the advantages to the end consumers. Otherwise, the goal of reducing overall tax burdens might not be fully realized. Implementing such a large-scale reform also increases administrative burdens. Systems need to be set up, communication channels established, and coordination among various states managed effectively. This can be quite complex and resource-intensive. We also need to consider the impact on state finances. States that depend heavily on GST revenue might resist losing out, which could create friction or resistance to the reform process. And then, there's the impact on certain sectors, like luxury or sin goods, where higher taxes might lead to reduced demand and potential lobbying pressures to keep taxes lower. There can also be issues with refund delays or glitches as the system stabilizes. These technical challenges are common in major reforms, but are typically addressed over time. It's worth noting that the government has signaled its intent to continue reform efforts, aiming to further ease burdens and improve the system. So, while there are challenges, the overall direction is towards making GST more efficient and beneficial for everyone involved. Now, let's take a closer look at how different sectors are impacted by these changes. Starting with consumer goods, FMCG, and retail, You'll notice that the lower tax on many daily items is expected to boost demand, making everyday products more affordable for consumers. Moving on to the automobile and durable goods sector, small and medium vehicles, as well as other durable goods, will see some relief through reduced taxes, while the luxury segment will face higher taxes, which could temper demand there. In healthcare and insurance, there's a positive shift with relief in health and life insurance, along with medical supplies, potentially making healthcare more accessible and affordable. The agriculture sector also benefits, as many farm inputs and machinery are moving to a lower tax slab of 5%, which can significantly reduce input costs for farmers. Regarding real estate and construction materials, the impact depends on how materials are classified, but there's potential for some shifting of tax slabs, which could influence project costs. The tourism and hospitality industry will see hotel rooms taxed at lower slabs for certain tiers, likely encouraging more travel and stays. However, the luxury and entertainment sectors might experience a dampening of consumption due to the higher tax rate of 40%. This is an important consideration for high-end services and products. Lastly, e-commerce and consumer electronics are expected to become more competitive, thanks to reduced tax burdens, leading to potentially better prices for consumers and increased sales for businesses. Overall, these changes reflect a strategic effort to stimulate demand in key areas while moderating growth in luxury segments, aligning with broader economic goals. Now, moving on to the government and state measures or safeguards that are being proposed to ensure a smoother implementation of the reforms and to protect revenue. First, the government has suggested continuing the compensation cess on certain goods. This is important because it helps make up for the potential revenue impact on the states, ensuring they're not financially strained during the transition. Next, there will be transitional support and buffer mechanisms in place. These are essentially safety nets designed to help businesses and states adjust without facing sudden disruptions. Communication and awareness campaigns are also a key part of the plan. These will keep stakeholders informed and engaged, helping them understand the changes and benefits clearly. Monitoring will play a crucial role as well. The government intends to closely watch how businesses pass on these tax benefits to customers, making sure the reforms translate into real consumer benefits. And finally, future reforms are also being considered to improve compliance, simplify the process of filing returns, and streamline dispute resolution. All of these measures are interconnected and aim to make the entire transition as smooth and beneficial as possible, aligning with our overall goal of creating a more efficient and fair tax system. As we wrap up, let's revisit the key takeaways from the September 2025 reforms, often called the Next Gen GST or GST2. This is a significant overhaul of India's indirect tax system, aiming to simplify and modernize how taxes are collected. The most noticeable change is the reduction to just two main slabs, 5% and 18%, along with a 40% slab for luxury and sin goods, and many essentials being exempt. This move is designed to make things clearer and more straightforward for everyone. For consumers, this should mean lower prices on many goods, which is a positive impact. Businesses, on the other hand, will need to adapt to these new structures, but should benefit in the long run from a more streamlined system. Importantly, this reform strikes a balance, making the system simpler without sacrificing the revenue that funds public services. However, the success of these changes will depend heavily on effective implementation, regular monitoring, and the possibility of further reforms down the line. Overall, this overhaul aims to create a more efficient, fair, and growth-friendly indirect tax system for India, aligning well with our broader theme of modernizing tax administration for the future.